March Madness is right around the corner, so now it's time to look at which conferences are going to bust into March Madness and which conferences are going to kind of limp into March Madness. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Go to Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I'm here to get you through the work week. Well, the weekend's here, so I'm here to get you through the weekend as well. And the best way to support this channel and get more of my content is hit that subscribe button. We're talking about how many teams each conference could send to the big dance. Some conferences are ready to go, sending a bunch of teams, and some conferences are just barely getting there. They're going to limp into the big dance. First, let's talk about some of the limpers. The first conference is the Pac-12. To me, the Pac-12 only has two locks, USC and UCLA. USC actually looks really good. They're 18-3, first in the Pac-12, top 20 basketball team. I think they'll be fine. UCLA is getting there. They're 15-5, second in the Pac-12, but they are gaining momentum. Now, a team that probably will make the tournament, but not quite a lock yet, is Colorado. They are 16-7, fourth in the Pac-12. 4 games remaining: Oregon State, USC, UCLA, and Utah. And their big wins are at USC, Oregon, Stanford, and Arizona. I think one more good win and Colorado will be a lock. The Pac-12 also has 2 bubble teams. The first one is Oregon. They're 13-4, third in the Pac-12. They also have 4 games left: Utah, at Stanford, at Cal, and at Oregon State. Their big wins: Seton Hall, Stanford, at Arizona, and Colorado. Bad losses: 1 against Oregon State. So they do have a decent resume. The last bubble team is Stanford. They're 14-8, and they are 4th in the Pac-12. They have at Washington State, at USC, Oregon, Oregon State, and Cal left. Big wins: at Alabama. That's a great win. Arizona, UCLA, and at Arizona. Bad losses: at Utah, at Arizona State. That's still a decent resume. So the Pac-12 could get 5 teams at best. But right now, only 2 are locks. By the way, Arizona banned. They're a good team, but they're not going to make the big dance. Another conference that's going to be limping into the big dance is the A-10. Right now, only 1 lock, and that's VCU. 16-4, first in the A-10. The rest are complete bubble teams. First, you have Davidson. They're 10-5, second in the A-10. They have at VCU, Rhode Island, Southern Virginia, didn't know that even existed, at St. Bonaventure, at George Mason, and VCU. So they still have some games that they can build their resume. They only have really 1 good win, and that was at UMass. 2 bad losses at Providence and Charlotte. So yeah, they need those games. Next bubble team, St. Bonaventure, 10-3, 4th in the A-10. 2 games left: Davidson and Dayton. Big wins at Richmond and VCU. Bad loss at Rhode Island. So it's not a terrible resume, but I think they need to win at least 1 more game to be a lock. Next bubble team, St. Louis, 11-3, 5th in the A-10. They have at Dayton, at VCU, Richmond, and George Mason left. Big wins: LSU, that's a good win, and St. Bonaventure. Bad loss at LaSalle. So I think St. Louis has some work to do. Next bubble team, Richmond, 11-5, 6th in the A-10. They have Duquesne, Fordham, at St. Louis, at UMass. So there are some good games that could build their resume. Big wins: at Loyola Chicago. That's a good win. At Davidson. Bad loss, LaSalle. For some reason, LaSalle can beat good teams. It's weird, and they're not good. Next bubble team, Dayton, 11-7, 8th in the A-10. They have St. Louis, St. Bonaventure, and VCU left. Big wins: Ole Miss. That's a good win. At Davidson and at St. Louis. Bad losses: LaSalle again. Then at Fordham, at Rhode Island. So they need a couple more good wins. Then the last bubble team, UMass. A lot of COVID issues. They're only 7-4, but 3rd in the A-10. They have at St. Joseph's and Richmond left. Big wins: none. Bad losses: none. Don't know what to make of UMass. So as of right now, the A-10 only has 1 lock, but potentially they could get 3, 4, 5 teams in. Who knows? Another conference that's kind of limping right now is the Big East. Only 2 locks right now, and that's Villanova and Creighton. There is one probable team, and that's Seton Hall. They're 13-8, third in the Big East. They have at Georgetown, at Butler, UConn, and at St. John's left. Big wins. They already have a win against St. John's, at Xavier, at UConn. That's pretty good. Bad losses at Rhode Island and Providence. So yes, they need at least 1 or 2 more good wins. The rest of these are bubble teams. First one up, UConn, 10-5, fourth in the Big East. They have at Villanova, at Georgetown, Marquette, at Seton Hall, and Georgetown again. 2 big games with Villanova and Seton Hall to build a resume there. Big wins so far. At USC, at Xavier, bad loss, at Providence. So yes, they need a few more good wins. Next bubble team, St. John's. They're 14-8, fifth in the Big East. They have DePaul, at Villanova, Providence, and Seton Hall left. Big wins at UConn, Villanova, Xavier. That's pretty good. Bad losses at Georgetown, Marquette, at Butler. So I'd say at least one more big win to make it a lock. Last bubble team, Xavier, 11-4, a lot of COVID issues. Sixth in the Big East. They have Butler at Providence, Creighton at Georgetown, and at Marquette. So really only one great game left. Big wins, Oklahoma. That's a great win. St. John's. Bad losses? None. So I think if they can go 4-1 and one of those wins be Creighton, they should be in good shape. Another conference that's limping right now, the Mountain West, only 2 locks, and that's Boise State and San Diego State. They do have one probable team, and that's Utah State. They're second in the Mountain West. They have at Boise State and then 2 home games against Nevada. Good wins. San Diego State, Colorado State. Bad loss at UNLV. So yeah, one more good win would help them tremendously. Here are the bubble teams. First, Colorado State, 14-4, third in the Mountain West. They have at Nevada, Air Force. Big wins. At San Diego State, at Utah State, and Boise State. Bad losses? None. So I think if they go at least 2-2 down the stretch, Colorado State should be in. Next bubble team, Nevada. 14-7, fifth in the Mountain West. They have Colorado State, at Utah State. Big wins, Boise State, which first in the Mountain West, so that is a good win, 2 of them. Bad losses, San Francisco and Air Force. So Nevada needs some help. The Mountain West might get in 3-4 if they're lucky. I have one more conference that is limping right now. Then I'll get into the conferences that are doing well. And that is the ACC. They only have 3 locks. Virginia, Florida State, and Virginia Tech. That's it. They do have a probable in Clemson. Clemson is 13-5, 5th in the ACC. Remaining games at Notre Dame, at Pitt, at Wake Forest, Miami, and then Pitt. They do have some good wins. Purdue, at Alabama, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina, and Syracuse. Only one bad loss, and that's at Duke. So I'm fairly confident to say that Clemson will make it, but they're not a lock yet. The rest of these are bubble teams. The first one is Louisville, 11-4, 4th in the ACC. They have at Syracuse, Pitt, at Virginia Tech, Syracuse, at North Carolina, Notre Dame, at Duke, at Virginia Tech, and Virginia. So they still have a few games left. They only have one good win, and that's against Virginia Tech. So they definitely need those games coming up. Bad loss at Miami. The record isn't bad. It's just they don't have any substance to it. So that's what these remaining games are all about. Next bubble team, and I can't believe I'm saying this, North Carolina. This late in the season, and they're not a lock. They are 13-7, 6th in the ACC. They have Louisville at Boston College, Florida State, at Syracuse, and Duke left on the schedule. For North Carolina, they only have one good win, and that's Syracuse. So they definitely need some more good wins. But I guess the kind of good news for North Carolina is they only have one bad loss, and that's NC State. Last bubble team for the ACC is Syracuse, 12-6, 7th in the ACC. Syracuse might do what Syracuse does and barely get in the tournament and then do some damage. They have Notre Dame, at Duke, at Georgia Tech, and North Carolina left. Good wins, just Virginia Tech. Bad losses, Pitt, at Pitt. Got swept by Pitt. You need some help. So personally, I think the ACC gets in 4, maybe 5, depending on North Carolina. Now let's get into the stronger conferences. They're going to get a bunch of teams in. First up, the Big Ten. Locks right now. Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State, Iowa, and Wisconsin. That's 5 right off the bat. They also have some bubble teams in there. Purdue, 14-8, 5th in the Big Ten. They have at Nebraska, at Penn State, Wisconsin, and Indiana. Their good wins: Liberty, Ohio State, at Indiana, at Ohio State. They swept Ohio State. That's great. And Minnesota, bad loss at Miami. So maybe 1 or 2 more good wins, and I would be confident in putting Purdue in. Next bubble team, Rutgers. They're 12-8, 7th in the Big Ten. They have Maryland, Indiana, at Nebraska, and at Minnesota left. They have some good wins: Syracuse, Illinois, Purdue, at Indiana, and Minnesota. That's not bad. Bad losses at Michigan State and at Penn State. I've seen worse, so they still need a little bit of help though. Next bubble team going to be Indiana. I think they're still in the hunt. 12-9, 7th in the Big Ten. Have Michigan State, at Rutgers, Michigan, and at Purdue. So definitely some chances in there to build their resume. Big wins at Stanford, at Iowa, and they swept Iowa. That's going to look good on their resume. Bad loss, Northwestern at the beginning of the season. So get a couple more good wins and Indiana should be in. Last bubble team for the Big Ten, Minnesota. 13-9 and 10th in the Big Ten, but man, do they have some great wins. Illinois, Northwestern, at Penn State, and Rutgers is what they have left. Listen to this. This is their good wins. St. Louis, Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan, and Purdue. That's some good wins right there. Bad losses? None. So really the only thing that's hurting them is being 10th in the Big Ten. You add a few more good wins and Minnesota should be in. So I think at minimum the Big Ten will get in 7 teams. They could get in as many as 9. I don't think that's going to happen. I think 7 is a good number. That's a lot of teams. Next up, as far as a strong conference, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the SEC. They have Alabama, Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, Missouri. I believe all those teams are locks. Then you add in the probable Florida. They're 10-6, 5th in the SEC. They have Georgia, at Auburn, at Kentucky, and Missouri. Some pretty good wins on there. Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, at Georgia, and at West Virginia. Bad losses: Kentucky, Mississippi State, and South Carolina. That's the only thing that could hurt Florida. They do have 3 bad losses. Don't pick up any more bad losses, or you're not going to make it. Next bubble team, Ole Miss. 12-8, also 5th in the SEC. They have Mississippi State, at Missouri, at Vanderbilt, and at Kentucky left on their schedule. Only 2 big wins though, and that's Tennessee, Missouri. Those are good wins, but that's only 2. Bad losses? None. That helps. Pick up another couple good wins and you're in. The last bubble team for the SEC is Georgia. Yeah, they're still in the mix. 13-8, 9th in the SEC. That doesn't sound great, I know. They have at Florida, LSU, and South Carolina. So they have 2 good chances to build their resume. Big wins at Ole Miss, and Missouri. So they swept Ole Miss. That's a good sign. Bad losses. This is why I have them lower. Mississippi State, Auburn, at South Carolina. So they need those big wins left on the schedule. Do that, you're going to get in. Personally, I think the SEC gets in at least 6, possibly 7. Last conference I'm going to talk about is, in my opinion, the strongest conference in the nation as of right now. The Big 12. They have 6 locks right now. Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Texas, and Texas Tech. All 6 of those are locks. And they also have one more probably going to be in, and that's Oklahoma State. They are close to being a lock. They're 14-6, 6th in the Big 12. They have Texas Tech, at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma left on their schedule. So they have some great opportunities to build their resume even more. Big wins at Wichita State, at Texas Tech, Kansas, Arkansas, and Texas. That's some good wins. Bad loss, TCU, at TCU. So their bad losses, they got swept by TCU. But they have an excellent opportunity to build that resume. To me, they're barely on the bubble. You get one more good win, Oklahoma State is in. I truly think the Big 12 will get 7 out of 10 teams in the Big Dance. And Iowa State is a good cellar dweller. If somehow they were to be able to pull off the miracle and win the Big 12 tournament, that would be 8. Do I think that's going to happen? No. So I'm going to stick with 7. But that's why I think the Big 12 is the strongest conference in the nation right now. We all know only one team can win the national championship, so in the end, it doesn't really matter. But it's fun to talk about going into March Madness. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next show.